Hi, good morning, everybody. I am Louise, and I will be the facilitator today. Um, I am going to read our. Okay, Eracism is the slogan of the group Erace, which was formed in New Orleans in the summer of 1993. We seek ways through person to person communication to show that we are committed to treating all human beings with love, respect, empathy, compassion, and humility. Join us. Erace is an organization that does not espouse any political party, and we have no religious affiliations. We believe in acceptance of all people, and no personal attacks of any kind will be tolerated. We come with intention to listen, learn, and not to argue. The land acknowledgement. We begin today by acknowledging that what we know as the United States is the ancestral and unceded territory of many indigenous peoples, and that there are many more nations and tribes that could be named here. Members of our meeting group today are on the lands of the Chitimacha and Choctaw in New Orleans, the Creeks and Cherokees in Atlanta, the Tonkawan, Lipan Apache, and Comanche in Austin, the Lenape and Piscataway in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area, the Wampanoag and Nipmuc peoples in Boston, the Kaula and Mojave in Riverside, and the Lumbee in Fayetteville. We thank their ancestors for being stewards of these lands through the generations and through today. We need to protect and honor the history and people of these places, despite the centuries of colonial theft and violence. We should always remember that we are still on indigenous land, and it will always be indigenous land. Very briefly explain the format, which is raise a finger if you want to get on. I'll make a list of people who want to speak. They speak for 2 minutes. You have 2 minutes to speak. You don't have to speak for the whole 2 minutes. If you have a clarifying question at the end, raise 2 fingers. And this just means I don't understand what you meant by, or what was that word or term? What did that mean? It's not a place for you to have a counter argument and then start a dialogue with them. That's not what clarifying questions are. At the end, when we do our wrap up, if no one has spoken, if some people have not spoken, they'll get 2 minutes, but otherwise everyone else will get 1 minute to do their wrap up. Okay, let's do introductions. And I've got Phyllis.
Good morning, I'm Phyllis. I'm in New Orleans and I've been coming to Erace since the summer of 2008.
Thank you. Beatrice.
Hi, good morning. I'm in East Point, Georgia, right outside of Atlanta. Been coming to Erace since about 1993, 94. Glad to see everyone.
Nancy.
Good morning. I'm Nancy. I am in the New Orleans area and I have been coming to Erace since June of 2007.
Yay. Teresa.
Good morning. I'm Teresa. I'm in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and I've been coming since August 2022.
Sorry, I always say Teresa, but it's Teresa, right? Is that Teresa?
It depends on where you're from. I have met people who couldn't make the sound, so it's Teresa or Teresa.
All right. I could always get away with a lot having the English accent. I was like, no, that's how we say it in England. Anywho, I went through so many different videos and TED Talks to try and decide on one. And of course, there could be something that's a little bit more, up to date to do with what's going on today. I didn't choose that. I chose colorblindness because it's something that actually I've been educated on in my adult education, because I used to raise Dylan, my son, by saying, if we're pointing out a person, I would say the person with the red T-shirt instead of it would be a very obvious way to say the black person over there. That would have been an easier way of doing it. But I was like, no, I'm colorblind. We don't say that. And I've learned since that, yeah, it actually is, it's not really the right way to do it. And this guy has the opposite. Well, he's just got a really interesting, I love the way he explains it. It's really wonderful. And then it's really good with the questions. I hope everybody stayed to the end and listened to the questions that Ted from TED Talks posed to the speaker. And I just, anyway, I wanted to see what y'all thought about this. So this is why I brought it. And I will make a list. And if anyone wants to get on the list, we can start our discussion. Or not. Okay, Teresa.
I was actually hesitating just to see like which rant do I want to start off with first, but I would just like to say most people when they say colorblind are not taking the nuanced stance that he is. And it seems like the last time I even heard that somebody saying that it was a white woman when we had just finished our hot yoga class. And I don't forget what she was talking about. She wasn't talking to me. And you know how you're just getting ready. I mean, after a sweaty class, we all shower. And she's like, "Oh, I'm colorblind," and I just thought, Teresa, just keep doing what you're doing because she's also one of those, or was, because I moved away from Austin. It was just like, oh, I'm just so retarded. And it was like, oh, we're even saying the R word now. I mean, these are different occasions, but that's kind of who this woman was. She doesn't have any nuance, didn't care or whatever. And I just thought, wow, it must be nice just to blurt out whatever the hell you feel like saying and no consequences or whatever. And I thought of that woman when I watched this video. It was just like his message. Anytime you have a nuanced message, I don't know if it's going to be as consumable to the masses without context, and that's my biggest argument with him, is that you really have to be somebody who is a conscious thinker, because hearing a man of color say I'm colorblind would give that woman from yoga just like, so it is like, y'all ain't saying the same thing. You may be using the same word, but he's coming from a very, very different place than what she was saying, it as if she's positing herself over the whole notion that she could possibly be racist. And I know that wasn't true, but you get little slights and you pick it up, and it's just like, do I want to engage? No, I'm going to keep minding my business, because I know after yoga and I get cleaned up, I'm going to go back home, eat lunch, and have a glass of wine. That's what I'm going to do. So
thank you. Good timing. Beatrice.
I consumed the video with great interest because I think a lot of what Coleman said was naive. I think I see it as naive. I think he's going to be really hard pressed to make his case that colorblindness means anything other than what we have learned that it means. I mean, I took some notes. Race doesn't tell, and it's the things he says about interpersonal relationships are true. Race doesn't tell whether you're kind or selfish, and how we treat people interpersonally. You might just be colorblind, so that the person's race does not determine how you treat someone. But when you talk, and I was saying earlier that I stayed online to listen to the debate between Jamel Bowie, for whom I have great respect, between this gentleman, the young man Coleman, and Jamel Bowie, and the idea that we're using colorblindness as a metaphor, as he says, to capture a way to treat people. This he's just going to be hard pressed to make that case, because that is not what is going to make a difference in how in what Jamel Bowie's terms talks about how we are treated in this culture in terms of equal opportunity, in terms of recognition of that race and racism has functioned as the decisive factor in how people are treated ever since redlining, ever since enslavement. So to just kind of, well, we're just going to use something else now. This is that hasn't been working for. I think it's just kind of naive. I thought it was a very entertaining and very interesting TED talk. He's saying we would try to treat people without regard to race. There's just a lot of things that he's just going to be hard pressed to make his case, and he can kind of press on. What Jamel Boyd was saying is we have to target inequality, group inequality, and you can't do it if you're going to gloss over it. By not admitting that something happened. Some other things that he said about Wendell Phillips, a lot of stuff that he quoted about Wendell Phillips, who was a great anti. I'll get back later.
Continue that thought.
Well, just that according to Jamel Bowie, they were inaccurate. His comments were taken out of context in terms of what Wendell Phillips said about color blindness. So, yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. The list is open. If Phyllis would like to get on, you can.
Yeah, I agree with what Beatrice is saying. That was my reaction to what he said, that it was almost like he was skipping ahead to a time or a place where there might be none or less racism, because I don't think you can start what he is suggesting when there's still so much racism. And it's almost like sometimes I've heard people say similar things in this group, and they don't seem to understand that that's an ideal, but it's not where we're at, and you can't skip 100 steps to get to what you think would be ideal. And I also want to say, I just was looking him up on Wikipedia, and I don't know if you know this, Louise, but as of this month, he is a visiting professor at the University of Austin.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
Just found that out. Yeah, and I guess he has a book on the whole concept of colorblindness.
Yes.
So, okay, that's it. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Amal.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I actually agree with this guy on a few of his points. I think the mistake that he made is he was trying to conflate two different things in one idea, in the sense that he took colorblindness and tried to use that as a prerequisite of how you should treat a human being based on character traits. And I think that, yeah, we should not judge a human being and say, okay, because he's 6'5" and he's black, oh well, man, he must play basketball. Okay, yeah, all right, that makes sense. Ideally, that would make sense to do that, but to think that we could completely divulge ourselves of not seeing a human being's color, which he admitted in the speech. Actually, he said that, you know, he compared it to being warm-hearted. And he said that, you know, when you say that a person is warm-hearted, you're not talking about the actual temperature of their heart. You're talking about the kindness of a person's soul. And he said that, well, that's the kind of idea he's trying to reach with colorblind. Is like, yeah, you do see the person's color, but you don't want to make any ideas about them based on it. And I can respect that. I actually can. At the same time, what you're describing is a world that you hope for, not the way the world is. Because I can't afford to walk out of my house and not recognize the fact that I'm black. Because if I walk the world in this colorblind idea that he's trying to describe, and I end up in a sundown town, how I feel about myself means nothing. You have to understand that you live in a society and how the society around you sees you based off of how you see yourself.
Gotcha. You good?
Yeah, that was it. That was it.
Okay, thank you, sir. Teresa. And then after Teresa, the list is open. So
All right.
And
Amal said something that kind of reminded me of what my brother-in-law said. You know how you just people marry into your family are like, well, here we go. Anyway, I've always thought that he was racist. Like just growing up in Rayford, it's like you must have grown up, we were in a military family, so I had this illusion that racism wasn't as bad as it was just because military families aren't. And I know there's pockets of everything, but they really did a tremendous thing when they integrated the military. And you just get used to being on base and seeing everyone, and you think everybody's neighborhood is integrated like that. I was really surprised to learn that that wasn't, that was due to the military and not the rest of the country. Anyway, I was talking to my brother-in-law recently, and he's like in his 60s. I think he's turning 66 this year. And he never admits any weakness, but he was just like, oh, yeah, I need to get a massage to because he's getting stiff or whatever. I was like, you're getting old, of course you have to do exercise, but he'll never admit that, right? He's like, he has to improve his golf swing. And I said, oh, you're going to go to like Massage Envy or something? And immediately, without any think time, he said, too many white people there. And younger me would have just totally dismissed him as being racist, because I've always thought of him as that. But now it's just like, it must be a burden to go someplace. I feel like I can go to Massage Envy, and I have, different places. I can go to some place, especially in Austin, where they didn't think I was Black, and I didn't have to worry about how others perceived me. But Amal just reminded me of that. Like, I don't have any brothers. I just have two older sisters. And I know Black men have a very different experience of this country than Black women. And so when my brother-in-law said that, I was actually a little more empathetic than him. I thought, how unfortunate that he can't just go to whatever. And I don't know if he sees people clutching their purses when he walks in, but I mean, the man is 65. You wouldn't think that that would still be a threat, but then again, the most dangerous place for a Black person to be is in the mind of a racist. You don't know what's going to set somebody off and how burdensome that is.
thank you. Beatrice.
Yeah, just wanted to refer to a couple of quotes from the speaker. He said, class is a better proxy for the true disadvantage than race is. And he also said that class-based policies are more popular. Interesting word for me. No one faces the sting of race. Why would we try to tie ourselves to fixing something based on what's popular? I mean, that doesn't ring true. Trying to give people an equal opportunity to register to vote. It may not have been popular. Nobody liked it. Nobody wanted it. Right after Reconstruction, the things that happened with Jim Crow and with the destruction of what Reconstruction had done, what our people had been able to do during that short time. Popular is not the reason to do good policy for people's lives. I mean, I thought that was probably the most weak of his arguments. And then to use the example of after the pandemic, that the money for small businesses first was given for women and minority business owners, and then there was the suit, and then the money had to be taken away. Then it was the white. Think about the fact, the policies that had it such that the women-owned businesses and the minority-owned businesses were disadvantaged already before the pandemic. I mean, he seems to have not wanted to admit that there were structural policies, and still are, that white supremacy has kept in place since we touched these shores, that have affected what has happened to people now, what continues to happen. And so I just found that I don't know if it's his age, lack of experience. I mean, he clearly had information. He had done his historical, he looked up information, and he called people's names. And he even talked about Bayard Rustin and Martin Luther King. And I think there was a misrepresentations of what those people had in mind. when he took for him
Finish the thought.
just for him to use them as examples of wanting color blindness rather than race awareness. I think that was completely wrong, and disturbing.
Okay, thank you. Amal.
Yeah, he going back to something Beatrice said about the when he was talking about how that money was allocated towards different groups. He had women, he said women, minorities. He also said something I think was missed. He said to military people. But then on the flip side, he said it completely discriminated against white males. And I said that a lot of people didn't catch it, but if you gave that money to military people, then white males were involved. Maybe it didn't name them specifically, but if you gave it to some people who was in the military, you didn't dice military up into categories. You just said military. And to assume that nobody white got some of that money was nobody white who's white male, I should say, got any of that money was funny to me. But like I said, I think the guy was making he was making a good point on how you should treat a person based off of their character and not assume that their race and their character should be conflated or assume things about them because of their race. He just trying to use colorblindness as a means to do that is where I think he made the mistake, because I could see a person's color and at the same time still appreciate those good character traits about them that he mentioned. He wants to devolve the person completely of color and then at the same time recognize those traits. That's why if you look at it at the beginning of his lecture, he said, just close your eyes and just imagine this about the person. Well, the reality of the matter is we're not all Stevie Wonder. We got eyes. We got sight, I should say. I ain't saying Stevie don't have eyes. I mean, we got sight. And so, you know, that's why I think he was making his mistake in trying to make his point. Yes, we should treat people based on character. Yes, we should not assume that because a person is of a certain race that they should be treated a certain way based on certain character traits. But hey, you know, I do too. I wish I was as talented as Steve. I ain't gonna. Yeah, I agree.
The list is open if anyone would like to get on Teresa.
Yeah, the way he opened when he said, okay, close your eyes, and he described all these qualities of people and said, what did you picture? That's the very reason I don't try to set people up, because you think, oh, this friend and this friend, they would be perfect for one another. And you think based on their personality, their interests, and they take one look at each other and just like, oh, I'm not, they do not see those fine qualities that you, and, I don't know how you would get, or I mean, not even going by race, but just looks when you're thinking, oh, these two would really hit it off. No, I remember the last time I tried to even, it was decades ago, because I was just like, let me stop. But I thought these two would be just so right for each other. And both of them, I mean, they were probably around the age I am now. So I just thought, oh yeah, let's fix up I have older friends. Let's just fix up these two. No, both of them wanted younger people. Both of them wanted, they did not want someone that was their same age. And I just thought, all right, my matchmaking days are over. This is absolutely, you would think it would be really nice to have somebody like a companion who gets all your references, for example, and read the same books and have common. I mean, that's great, right? But no, they both want younger people. So someone who's da 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 da. So not everybody, people are not gonna go through this world blind to whatever. If you read Resma's, I forget his last name. I know it starts with an M, Menkanum or something, My Grandmother's Hands. You know, people will react viscerally before their brain kicks in. And that's that's I don't know how you get past that. It's like, okay, intellectually, I shouldn't, my heart shouldn't be racing just because I see somebody different walking in a public place. It's a public place. They have the right to do that. But why do you feel alarmed? And then, you kind of, because of blah, 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 blah. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Teresa. The list is actually open if anyone would like to hop on. Glenn, you got something to say? No? Anybody? Beatrice. Okay, go ahead, Beatrice.
A new laptop, and so I have trouble figuring. Never mind. To unmute myself. Um, uh, a concern that I have about this young man, scholar's philosophy, is that it confirms things that I don't think need to be confirmed in people's minds. For example, uh, because the color blindness that people talk about, and he even quoted, and it just breaks my heart when people quote Martin Luther King's, "I want my children judged by the content of their character, not the color of their skin." It lets people think that it's okay to not think of an African American person as a person with history, with pain, with struggle, with trauma, with all. Right. I don't see color. I don't, and that is dangerous. I think from Jamel Bowie, I'm not remember who I wrote it from. You can't eliminate bias from the systems if we don't recognize that there is such a thing as bias. You can't. It can't happen if you don't recognize that race has had that racism. And now, when you have white men saying that they've been discriminated against, when you have South Africans being brought here from South Africa because their life has been so hard, we've lost focus of what the system has really done to people and how people continue to struggle. And the maternal mortality issue with African American women is just a tragedy that we can't ignore these things. But if we do not recognize race and racism and white supremacy as being the basis on which this kind of treatment has occurred, that there's been weathering, you can't fix it.
Thank you.
All right.
Anyone? Oh, Glenn, you're on. You want to get on?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I found something Teresa said was amusing, about putting people together who got the same age. And I'm 76. Now, most time I find a woman that's my age, she's walking around with a walker, So, or I'll be making constantly going with all the ills that she may have, constantly going to the hospital. Now, getting down to what the subject is we're talking about. I'm not that color conscious as maybe some of you are, because I had a leader that took us away from color consciousness, and plus a religion that takes you away from color consciousness. My leader told me, say, if you're not comfortable around all people, you got some more growing up to do. And also that they got people, in my religion, they got people, when I look at them in my religion, I don't see them as whites. I see them as just human beings. And they act like they don't bring their color consciousness or All of us are working to get rid of that out of us. The religion forces us to get that out of us, and to look at everybody as one humanity. That's the practice of our religion, looking at every human being as being one humanity, not broken up into what the races need that keep control over the people. The races need that. Trump needs that they have people who are race conscious, color conscious. He needs that to rule. All right.
Thank you. Teresa has a clarifying question for you.
So do
Yeah.
I.
And oh, yeah. Okay.
So, Glenn, you said you are not color conscious, but sometimes on these meetings you get upset and you say, "You white women." You don't just say "you women." So, isn't that color conscious?
Uh, when I say you white women,
Yes. Why can't they just be women you disagree with?
well, like I said, maybe it's not. When I look at these women on here, like the women that's on here right now who are all Caucasian, I don't. Uh, I don't feel that they are. Uh, I'm not color conscious with them. I'm really not in a color conscious with. But sometimes I may use the term to make a certain point. But no, but when I look at them, I don't feel uncomfortable being with them. That's the best I can
Okay.
say.
Amal, did that answer your question, Teresa?
We can move on. Thank you.
Yeah. Amal, what's your clarifying question?
Yes. You said that your leader said that if you're not comfortable around all people, and what was the other part of the quote?
You need some. You need some growing up.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I want.
And I was just saying, your leader meaning your imam, right?
Yeah, Ward D. Muhammad. Yes.
Okay. All right. Hey, the list is open now. If anyone would like to get on, um, I need to go polish my walking frame. I'll be back in a minute. um, I'd like to throw ageist in there as well, which is something that has been on my mind the past couple of years as I am getting older, and the way that people see you, and especially as an old white woman. That's so let's throw that out there as well. If anyone has anything to say on that, but the list is open, so please.
Yeah, I'll jump in.
Yeah. Jamal? Okay, go.
Something that you said about yourself as you said you just described yourself as an old white woman,
That's how
and
I'm seen.
that's how. Okay, thank you. So let's correct it. That's how you're seen,
Hmm.
because you've at your own admission told me that your father's from Egypt. You wouldn't be considered white in the United States.
Right. I'm a passe or whatever. Yeah,
You may be
exactly.
white presenting, but you're not a white person by the context of how the United States describes that. So I
Sure.
think people got to always keep that in mind when. So that's what I was correcting. That idea that people find out who your father is, that will completely delineate you from being white in this society. How you may look at yourself is not what I'm describing. I'm telling you how you'll be seen in a white supremacist mindset, which is the idea and the mindset that rules the United States, whether we like that reality or not. So that's all I wanted to say. I just wanted to correct that.
That's all right. I don't know. Can I answer that in a way? Because it's the way I'm seen. I mean, a white supremacist is not going to know
I
that
agree.
my
I agree.
maiden name
You can
was
pass.
Redwan, so I think, but you're right. Obviously, if they knew
Yeah, you can
that
pass.
would
I'm just
change,
saying that if you sat down with that same white supremacist, hey, my father's from Egypt, you
suddenly would start to look a little browner, right? Yeah. I get you. So open. Anyone like to jump on? Phyllis.
Well, I guess that leaves me as the only strictly Caucasian woman in the group today. And I think for Louise, your accent people would perceive your accent as being white because they perceive English people as white, whether
Right.
it's correct or not. I think there is something to the way women as they age get looked at, and or not looked at, or dismissed, or not counted or credited with things. I was in a situation this week sitting next to a white woman with beautiful silver hair. I aspire to that hair. Um, but she felt so strongly giving her opinions about everything. Like, can we turn down the heat? And why are these people still coming this way to leave the parking lot and blah blah blah. And I'm just like, oh my God. Like, yes, I'm hot too, but I don't think I need to dictate the environment for everyone. Because maybe other people are not as hot as I am, and I'm not on this transportation forever, right? So I'll just sit there and suffer until I get off. But I was just like, oh my God. So that it was sort of like a very outspoken older woman, also a little Karen-y, in my opinion. So that's something I try to not become in both cases. Oh, I'll be outspoken though.
Thank you. Teresa.
Okay, thank you. I put a description. I know I mentioned this episode before of the show Atlanta when white people had to pay reparations for Black people. And it's around, it centers this white guy named Marshall Johnson. And his wife left him. I don't remember if she actually was just separated or they actually divorced. And she's just like, I can't be with somebody whose family used to own slaves. And, you know, how and she was saying like her family never did such a thing or whatever, and he looked at her and said, but you were just white yesterday, now you're Peruvian. And I just laughed because she was one of those South Americans who could pass for white. And I love that to me. I mean, I love the whole series Atlanta, but that episode in particular was just because I had been thinking before, what would have to happen for white people to willingly come from under the umbrella of whiteness? And this episode showed one way. Unfortunately, recently, the Orange Menace is showing another way that white people may be, like the umbrella goes, and they're no longer under, with the just outright murder of Renee Good. They were, how I play racism bingo? Before and I've never seen the video, never even saw her picture, but when the story first broke, I could not tell what race this woman was by the telling of the story. Just could not. And I thought, wow, now this is intriguing. And when I found out that she was white appearing, I thought, oh, here's a way white people will be just kicked out from under the umbrella. When it opposes what the Orange Menace wants to do, it doesn't matter that she was white. It appeared that she was going against what the Orange Menace wanted, and I thought, wow, this is how. Because I was thinking, okay, white people will no longer want to be white if they have to pay reparations. Suddenly, they're not. But wow, in reality, this is how it is happening, right? And right in front of our eyes. And it's just I don't want it to be violent, but at the same time, well, I'll get back on.
You can continue because it's open, and if you want another
Well,
2 minutes, go ahead.
again, I realize that the Orange Menace has Alzheimer's. Apparently, they don't want to recognize that, but the things that he's doing is just like, okay, I live with somebody in their 80s. I know what that looks like. And anyway, when he said that the Danish cannot keep Greenland because they happen to arrive on the shores first, it's just like Scooby Doo. Do you know what? And I just thought, oh, now's your time, Native Americans. Now's your time. POTUS just said that certain people couldn't. Now's your time. And I'm thinking, congratulations once again. We always do the land recognitions for the Lumbee Indians. They were just recently officially, I didn't even know they weren't official according to the federal government, but now they are official. And I would love, I don't, to my knowledge, I don't have any Native American friends who I socialize with here in Fayetteville. I knew some in Austin, but I was like, hey, POTUS just said that people can't just hold on to stuff and, just because they arrived first. So are we going to extend that? Are we going to get the protest protections that the Iranians are getting, here in the States? It's always easier to be so kind-hearted and generous to other people, but not your own people. Not, and he doesn't even see some Americans as, it's like you have to be the leader of everyone, even the people who voted against you. And that poor woman who gave, well, I say poor woman, I mean, I know she's powerful in Venezuela, but to give him her Nobel, which that was symbolic. I mean, I know she's being savvy. I know this, that, and the other. And then he acts like, oh, I don't really want it. But is that another case of it doesn't matter what color you look like, it's what you can do for me and expand my power? So I'll end on that one.
Thank you. The list is open if anyone would like to jump in.
Yeah, I'll go.
Thank you, Mom.
Going back to this idea of color blindness, I think the gentleman in the TED Talk series tried to redefine color blindness to fit his narrative in the moment. And a lot of people missed it because they were so caught up in the mysticism of we living in a colorblind society. I think that's something that you could do when you're Caucasian. You could develop these ideas around race that don't relate to everybody. Now, can other people try to adopt it? Like, this guy is black. He's not white. But I think that sometimes even when you're black, you'll listen to some things that Caucasians say that may work for them, but don't work for everybody. And it sounds good. Color blindness sounds very good. But once again, when I walk out the door, I can't afford that reality. I can't. My children, and I don't have any children, I'm speaking hypothetically. If I sent my nieces and nephews rather to school, I cannot afford to have them sitting in the class of color blindness where somebody may teach them that Columbus discovered America and not challenge that.
Right.
That's the reality of where we live. When you're non-white in the United States, the idea of colorblindness, you cannot afford to do it because your very existence in this society has been predicated upon how you look. Yes, your skin color being involved. And so I don't have a problem with being a black man. I'll yield.
Okay. Do you want to be back on?
No. Somebody else.
Okay. Well, Glenn is up, and then it's open after Glenn.
Okay.
Nancy, go
I
ahead.
spoke. What you saying something?
I just said go ahead, honey.
Okay. Yeah, I spoke of how my religion teaches, that humanity is one. But in Christianity, it teaches people that, you know, God is a white man, you know, and uh, and give you nothing but images of all the prophets. They were white men, and even though many of them came out of a desert area uh, where there were no Europeans, and they so that is the real thing that caused people to look at other people in a color conscious way. Uh, Jesus was a white man, and he's the Son of God, and the devil give a portrait of the devil as being a black man. Uh, so where my religion teaches that God is one, the creation is one, and humanity is one, and the all of us come from our Father, not God. God ain't our Father; He's our Creator. But Adam is our Father, and all of the human race genetics lead back to Adam. So that, like I said, that type of religion teaches you particularly not to be color conscious. So that's the difference. And I've gone whenever I've gone in other countries and go inside of my place of worship, nobody look at me as I shouldn't be there. But that wouldn't happen in my own city. If I go to certain churches in my own city, that some places they would look at you like you don't belong. You shouldn't be there. Okay, that's it.
Thank
Ask a
you.
clarifying question.
Oh, go ahead.
Yes.
And I got Beatrice.
Yeah. So you said that Christianity presented Jesus as a white man to the world. Did I get that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So my question is, did the Christian faith do that, or was that done by some white supremacists under the banner of the Christian faith?
Um. The all I would say what we call Satan suggested it, and the leaders of Christianity they loved it.
That doesn't really answer his question.
Huh?
I don't think that really answers his question, does it?
Not at all, but we can move on.
Okay. Well, we have Nancy and then Beatrice and then Phyllis. Okay. So go ahead, Nancy.
Okay. I don't know. I've been quiet for so long because I really didn't find anything about that video that I could relate to. It's kind of over my head, to be perfectly honest, because color blindness, sorry, is just not the reality that I've lived. Just as okay. And I also feel that people who claim that they are either colorblind or I don't see color, for one, I don't believe them because I don't think it's possible to do that. In this society, I think either you are protesting too much or using it like a screen to be able to cover cover up your true feelings, or either you're naive, because this whole society is based on color and how you are seen and how you can be classified and boxed, put in a box. And then characteristics and are attributed to you based on what box you fall into. The other thing that we just recently, were talking about, was about complexion. All right. Complexion. Where does complexion? How do you fall on that color scale as depending on what complexion you are? One of the things that I thought of when Glenn was talking was Adam, who's always been depicted as a white person, was he black? Because everybody was supposed to come out of Africa. Was he white or was he black? He's always been depicted as white. I've never seen black Adam. I've always seen a white Adam. But also, we've been having some, I've told you that, my grandson is biracial, and he's just a little bit lighter than me, just a little bit. But, having to have, and he's going to LSU, and apparently he's running into some real racial issues, having gone to LSU, and trying to, you may identify yourself as being biracial, which is true, but the world is going to see you as black. There's like no getting around it. That's who the world is going to see you. Even though now on census and a lot of admission forms and stuff, they put down multiracial or multi-ethnic to accommodate, or biracial to accommodate, because the world is becoming more mixed and people are combined. They're not just strictly black or white, they have combinations of racial makeup.
Do you want to get back on, Nancy?
Did I pass it? I didn't hear it.
Oh, yeah, it went off. I'm sorry.
Okay. No, I'm done. I just wanted to say that, but I didn't hear it. Okay.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, as it relates to your grandson, you say that he's at LSU and he's running into some racial problems at LSU?
Well, he's coming into some racial realities. I'll put it like that. That even though, it's not that he has not dealt with racial issues, because, the United States is racist. I don't care where you go, but it's racist more in some places than in others. It's more obvious in some places than in others. It's more, it's just different. Okay. People don't know, some things are, well, what did I say?
Did that answer your question?
So anyway, what was your question?
So the question was, do you believe that him going to the LSU and coming into that type of environment, do you believe that he was prepared?
I tried to prepare him as best I could. I really did.
Okay.
But some things you just have to experience for yourself and make your own judgments about. I can't live for him. All right, I'll put it like that. I can't live for him. I'm not him. I can't live for him. I can kind of try to forewarn you of this, and, I think what really got him was when they wanted to put that memorial up to Charlie Kirk. He is like, Jeff Landry sticks his nose too much in the everyday workings of LSU, and it shows up as, the racial preferences that go on. So anyway, yes.
Thank you. Beatrice is next.
I got a question.
What? Clarifying question?
Right.
Go ahead.
Okay.
What I'm trying to understand is, what real problems does he have? Meaning what? What is it?
I'm not sure. He just, his eyes have just been opened to Louisiana is more racist than Maryland.
Okay. Beatrice and then Phyllis, and then the list is open.
I just wanted to respond to the initial premise, Glenn, of saying Christianity teaches that God. Christianity doesn't teach anything about the color of God. People's perceptions, the iconography, the pictures are based on their geography, their demography, their history. Anyone who thinks that a brown immigrant Asian, a person born in the place where Jesus was to have been born and thinks that they're white with blue eyes and blonde hair is not recognizing what people actually look like in the Middle East. So that is the presentation of a white picture of Jesus was an intentional presentation by people who were trying to push an ideology on people. So that Christianity does not teach anything about the color of God. That your initial premise is incorrect. And I think you need to kind of think through that. There are representations of, there were no cameras. There were no cameras to take pictures of what a Christ would have looked like. And so people, so that they can feel connected to their prophets, or make people look like they do, people with eyes like theirs, people with hair like theirs. So that was, your premise is incorrect. I just want you to be real clear on that. Christianity does not teach anything about the color of God. That is, God is bigger than any color, and a creator presented him or herself to many people in many ways. Christianity is just one of them. There are Muslims, there are prophets, and there are sacred texts all over the world that people recognize as theirs and take to their hearts. So we don't just claim that there's one creator who only showed him or herself to one group.
Thank you, Beatrice. Then I've got Phyllis and then Glenn. Phyllis.
Yeah, so first of all, bouncing off what Beatrice said, I think it's important to remember that Christianity didn't start in Northern Europe. Christianity started in the Middle East and has a very strong foundation in Africa. For example, Ethiopia. And I'm sure that in those cases, nobody thought of God as being blonde hair and blue eyed. I've been to Greek Orthodox churches, and the iconography does not present as Caucasian. Also, the story of Adam and Eve is, I'll call it an allegory, sort of an explanation of humanity, and it's not historically real. There's no evidence that there was an Adam and Eve in a garden and all the ensuing family drama. And also, we all have, how do you say this? Our ancestral parent is Lucy, who is I believe, sub-Saharan African woman. So I don't consider Adam as a father to anybody, because in fact he probably wasn't real. And I also don't think that the whole eating the fruit, yada yada nonsense that then gets women blamed for everything. It's all just make believe. Thank you.
In your opinion, right?
Well, I'm the one talking, so yeah, it's my opinion.
Okay, I have Glenn and then Teresa.
Well, you know, if you are putting that picture in the Bibles that come from your religion, you're putting a picture in that image in your Bibles, you're putting it portraits in statues in your churches, you are teaching that Jesus was a white man. Uh, you don't have to have, you don't have to have, if you participating in that for hundreds and hundreds of years, you participating in that. And it all was about white supremacy. That's what it was all about. They use it as a tool of white supremacy. And if you didn't bow down to that, if you didn't bow down to that, in the name of Jesus, they killed you. That's it.
Thank you.
Let me ask a clarifying question.
Go ahead.
And you said that was that the statues and the white images of Jesus. You said if that's in your church, you're teaching that Jesus was white. Did I hear that correctly?
Yes.
And you said that was what the white supremacists was using. Did I hear that correctly?
Correct.
So when I asked you the question, originally the question was that Christianity teaching that, or was that white supremacists under the banner of Christianity teaching that? Which one is it? Is it Christianity or white supremacy?
It's both.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Teresa is next, and then it's open if anyone would like to do that, or else we'll just go into the wrap up after that. Go ahead, Teresa.
All right. As usual, I just like to throw a curveball. I put a Goodreads link of a book called When God Was a Woman by Merlin Stone. And this is a well-documented book about goddess worship and how that, predated patriarchal religions. And like I said, it is historical based. So it's very interesting. We're having the conversation about race when, after listening to this book, because I listened to it on audio, it talked about how the patriarchy did not want women to have money. They didn't want them to make decisions. It's kind of depressing, like how many rights that women had and was just like taken for granted until patriarchal religion came about. So, while you're talking about what color the man is, they were not talking about, male gods. It was goddesses and societies and children taken care of better, and not really. You think about how women's sexuality is so governed, and how during this time period, women may not have even known who the father of their child was, because that's not how society was set up. And it's just a mind-blowing thing to think that now. But back then, women weren't as repressed. It was just kind of common knowledge that she would have money, power, property, be able to take care of herself and whatever. So I recommend that book. So when I'm thinking about depictions, one of the great things about living and traveling is not all icons show a fair-skinned, blue-eyed Jesus. And I'm going to put a link in the chat of one that's in St. Catherine's monastery on Mount Sinai.
Okay, thank you. So does anyone else want to get on the list for 2 minutes? If not, we'll start. Oh, Phyllis, go ahead.
Yeah, what Teresa was saying just made me think of something I've thought about the murder of Renee Good, is that yes, she's white, but she's also a lesbian. And I feel like that is being used to diminish her in ways that if she had a husband and some children and they all lived in the same house, I think it would be a different narrative. And, that her wife was using her First Amendment right to say what the hell she wanted to say to that horrible human being. None of that is a cause for a justification for an execution, which is what this was. And the fact that after her car was going down the street with her dead body in it, he called her a slur.
Yeah.
And I suspect that, I'm not sure, I suspect that either they were known to him or he was known to them, just from something the wife said, that, we're not going to change. We'll have the same license plates tomorrow, unlike y'all who change your license plates. So maybe that's just an ICE thing, or maybe it wasn't their first encounter with that individual. But I do think that the fact that she was married to a woman is having a role in this narrative against her. And that's disappointing to me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What was the slur that he called it?
A fucking bitch.
As the car was pulling away with her dead body in it.
Yeah, after he shot her.
All right. Yeah. I think we're going to go into the wrap up now. So everyone has spoken, so everyone will get a minute. So let's start with Glenn. Go ahead.
Well, back to when people talk about there are different, different places you'll find a dark-skinned Jesus picture and all that. But the domineering, when you think of Jesus, you see that Caucasian face. It has been in all the movies. It's been in the churches. You got a big old statue somewhere in Brazil, somewhere about 100 feet tall of a big white Jesus. It's the dominate. You don't think of no black Jesus. You don't think of none of that. You think of that dominating image, which I had in the house I was born in. A big 2 or 3 like a 3-foot picture of him in the house. So and throughout the house on the mantelpieces they had his picture. It is the dominating image. That's it.
Yeah, you are not wrong about that. Teresa.
It's okay. I was going to say, Glenn, when I think of Jesus, I think of that picture that I just shared with you guys. I absolutely love that. I did a night hike on Mount Sinai, and the reason you do it at night is just so when you can see the sun rising, and when the fog lifts, it looks like spirits lifting up from the earth. It is a very beautiful spiritual experience. And I'm sad for anyone who thinks of a blonde, blue-eyed, fair-skinned Jesus. I think they should go to St. Catherine's, even if you're not Catholic. And I think those are actually, oh, anyway, I don't remember. But that is my absolute favorite depiction of Jesus, that painting that I shared with you all. But thank you for sharing this video, even though I didn't agree with the speaker, it was an interesting take. I kind of agree with them all. It's like you're not going to just in this one little TED talk redefine what that phrase means for a lot of people. Thank you.
Thank you. Phyllis.
Excuse me. Yeah, thanks for the video and the food for thought. It kind of proves that Black people are not a monolith. Makes that point very well. And I hope you get to go hear him talk in Austin and maybe have a conversation with him.
Yeah,
Go
that'd be
find
great.
him. Go find out what his office hours are. Thank you.
Thank you. Nancy.
Interesting discussion as how it moves all over the place. When we were in Barcelona, we went to the La Sagrada Familia. Okay. And there are no colored, meaning depictions of Jesus. They have an image of Jesus on the cross, but he is ivory and doesn't give you a colored image of what you can imagine. You can use your own imagination to determine what color he may have been and whatnot. I think that I agree with Glenn in that Chris, okay, my minute is up, but I agree with
No,
Glenn.
go
I'll
ahead.
leave it like that.
Finish that thought.
Finish my thought.
Yeah.
That religion was used to brainwash and indoctrinate people into believing into and buying into white supremacy. I do believe that.
Right. Okay, good. Thank you. Beatrice.
Yeah, thank you for the video and conversation. As I said at the very beginning, I think that the young man is going to be hard pressed to push the idea of colorblindness anything other than what people see it as. Interesting conversation about the iconography. I agree, of course, with Nancy, and this was the idea when we were brought to this country in enslavement, and there's white Jesus and white religion and white man's religion. I think we need to talk about what is now and what we see now, and that the iconography in churches, if you go in any church where there are maybe Roman Catholic Church, you're not the chances that anybody is intentionally teaching someone that Jesus is white are people recognize that a brown-skinned Middle Eastern immigrant is not going to be white. And so I'm talking about now. I'm not talking about what people did when we came to these shores. But I think it's good conversation. Nice to be with you all. And good luck to this guy about his idea about colorblindness. Bless your heart, honey. You got a job ahead of you. Thank you.
Thank you. And Amal.
Yeah, he definitely got a job ahead of him. But like I said, I think sometimes people live in a world that they hope for, and I wish him well. I really don't think that his intentions were malicious or bad in the colorblind society that he hopes for. Hey, I'm comfortable with being a black man. And the fact that I'm conscious of that reality does not mean that I cannot be in the company of others who may be comfortable with their skin. Doesn't make them racist. Doesn't make them not racist. It just means that they're comfortable with their color, and so am I. And we don't have to diminish nobody's humanity based off of the fact that I could look in the mirror and see what I see. My humanity isn't diminished, and I don't look at anybody else as less than human because they identify with who and what they are. So just because a person is, as was said, color conscious or race conscious or however conscious you want to look at it, doesn't mean that they diminishes others' humanity in that reality.
Right.
Great article though. I mean, presentation.
Yeah, I got you. All right, thank you, everybody. So I wrote down a few things, and I agree, Beatrice. He simplified it. You know, his argument, it was naive. But again, as Amal says, it's what he would want to see. You know, which would be great, but you know, realist that I am, you know, it probably wouldn't happen. But it was just nice to hear and nice to imagine that. Um, you know, uh, obviously you've got to see color because you've got to see the pain and the history in it. You can't by saying I don't see color is saying you don't see the history and you know what has come before. So I do understand that very much. So I tell you what though, ageism, it exists. there's I wish there was age blindness, you know, because I've just started experiencing it, and again, you know, people really can't judge or talk about stuff that they haven't ever experienced. But I'm experiencing it, and I'm finding it weird because in my head, I'm like, "What are you talking? I'm 30, you know, or I'm, you know, I just feel that I'm not who they see me as." I'll give you a for instance, which happened recently, which is really still kind of worries me a bit. But I was pushing a trolley after the shopping, you know, full of shopping, and in the parking lot of the local store, it's actually kind of a bit of a steep hill, and it is a bit tough. So I was like, you know, bending down and just like and going for it. And this young lady, very sweet young lady, comes up and says, "Would you like a hand with that? Do you need help?" And it was just like, what? I didn't even think. I mean, I can't tell you the emotion really that I had because at first it was like, no, of course not. I'm just pushing this up the hill. It's tough, and it would be tough for you as well. You know, you young lady. Anywho, and it's been happening a lot. You know, do you want the senior citizen discount or do you want the? And I realize I've got white hair. I look old, but anywho, so yeah, I won't go on about ageism, but that's something that's hit me recently. I think saying problems with the religion, Glenn, you know, is kind of, you were just saying my religion is better than your religion. Almost, it seemed like that's what you were saying, which, you know, let's face it, is the cause of so many problems in this world, you know. So I thought that was a little silly. And Mount Sinai, Teresa, I too have been to Mount Sinai when I was much younger, and it's an amazing walk. And you have to start. We stayed in the hostel down below, and then left at like 4 a.m. or something to climb up. And I mean, you know, I'm not saying anything, but you know, I almost saw God at the top of that because apart from being exhausted, and you know, the air is changes. And anyway, there was a guy selling the tea, mint tea. Did you get one of those? Oh my God, what a perfect place to sell tea. Anywho, that was very off the thing. And yeah, I think that's about all really I want to say, but I appreciate all of your input, and I hope you have a great weekend.